This is SLP by day,
Author by night,
with Tali and
Becca Eisenberg
bringing the SLP writing community
together. Hi, I'm Becca Eisenberg, speech-language pathologist, AAC specialist, and children's book author that is passionate about creating and sharing inclusive stories that highlight disability, diversity, and the many ways we communicate. I'm grateful and excited to host the SLP by Day, Author by Night podcast with Tali Kellerstein.
Hi, welcome everybody. We are so happy to welcome Amanda Schamberg to our show. And Amanda is a pediatric speech-language pathologist, a public speaker, and a children's book author. She's the founder and owner of Panda Speech Education Consultants, which is a private practice that provides speech, occupational, and physical therapy services to local school districts and family in the Texas Panhandle. Currently, her team serves over 400 students across 4 school districts. In addition to her clinical work, Amanda is a sought-after speaker who travels nationwide, training educators on special education services and workplace boundaries. She's the founder of Panda Speech Publishing, where she has authored and published 8 books, 2 picture storybooks, and 1 picture joke book, selling over 9,000 copies worldwide. She has a passion for writing children's books that spark imagination and promote literacy and communication. Beyond her professional endeavors, Amanda is deeply committed to community service. She's a Special Olympics coach for track and swimming, a kids inclusion coach for softball, and an active board member of Smiles for Speech, a nonprofit organization that provides therapy, resources, and training to underserved communities around the globe. Welcome, Amanda. We're so happy to have you on SLP by Day and Author by Night.
Yes, I am so thankful to be here. Thank you for asking me.
So we'll jump in. Can you share some of your background as an SLP? What drew you to the field initially?
Well, I'm one of those like rare people who knew exactly what they wanted to do in high school and just that was just the end goal. I worked with this special education class at my high school. I was a peer tutor, so I'd go in, one period or I can't even remember, maybe 1 or 2 periods a day and work with the students. One of my students had speech therapy, so I got to, follow along and I was just amazed and I just knew that's what I want to do. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. And then I had if you follow me on Instagram, I share this story a lot. It took me 4 years to get my master's because I had a baby. So I was 9 months pregnant when I waddled across the stage to get my bachelor's degree. And I was freshly divorced. And so then 2 months later, I started grad school with a 2-month-old. 4 years later, I got my master's degree and I had a 4-year-old. So it was a long journey, but I did it. So if anyone else out there, if you're going through that kind of stuff, you could do it.
Amazing.
Oh, so I started out in a nonprofit clinic where it was kind of like an outpatient clinic. And then they started contracting me into schools where I'd fulfill their school contracts. And I started really loving schools. So school therapy is kind of my passion. So my private practice focuses on that right now.
When did you switch from public to private, or were you in private right from the start?
No, so I've worked in the nonprofit clinic realm for a while. And then in 2015, I made the jump to go to schools primarily. Just I had 3 young children. I wanted to have that, schedule that everyone loves about, the school setting. And then in 2021, I left the schools and opened up my private practice. So it's been, I think I'm on my 4th year of doing the private practice and the school contracting.
When did you start writing books?
So, I opened up a Teachers Pay Teachers store back in like 2012, 13-ish. I can't remember the exact date. I started writing interactive books, kind of like what I have today as fully published board books, but I made them as like print and make books. So I've been doing that since about, 2012, 2013 is probably when I did my first book. And then in 2023 is when I founded my publishing company and started producing the board books, like the real board books. But this concept has been alive in my speech room since 2012.
So you were using like laminated versions
Yes.
initially, and
With like, those little rings to bind them,
Yeah,
so
that's what
yeah.
I, because I make those too. So how,
Yeah.
can I ask you, like, how is it starting your own publishing company? Because I think that, as speech pathologists, that's something that, we definitely don't learn in grad school. So, what was
Right.
that like as, just starting that?
Well, it was a lot of trial and error. I have to learn things myself. So, I know there's all kinds of online courses or you can consult with professionals, but my brain doesn't work that way. I have to dig in and figure it out myself. So it was a long process. I do recommend to other people utilize those services that are out there that help you. But that's just how my brain works. It was a really hard thing to get going. It was a dream of mine. And I was really intimidated by it. I did reach out to publishers years ago, but they just didn't get my concept because my board books have flaps and these like movable pieces. So it was just kind of like whenever I would try to explain it to people, they weren't super excited, or it was just I didn't get good feedback. So I was discouraged for many years. So I have a really good friend. She runs that account, Bilingual Speechy, and she produces stuff. Her and I were talking, and she's like, "You can do this. You can get a board book made. You don't need a publisher. If you really want to do it, you can figure it out." So she really encouraged me. And there is a lot of like a learning curve when it comes to designing book layouts, to storyboarding books, to finding a manufacturer to that does lift a flaps and the movable pieces and the Velcro on the books. There's so many pieces that go into it. But I did. And I will tell you, it took me about 5 different samples from different companies all around the world to find a manufacturer that I loved. Um, and so it was just a long process. Yeah, it's weird now. It's such a normal thing in my mind, all the different steps of publishing. But back then, it was so overwhelming. But I've also done 3 different routes of publishing. So I have fully manufactured board books. I have a book warehouse. I do all the shipping and fulfilling from my little book warehouse behind my house. I also have manufactured everything, and then I've sent my books to Amazon, where Amazon, sells it and ships it for me. And then I also have done the self-publishing print on demand services through Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. So I have 3 different things going right now with book publishing, but it's
amazing.
all under my company.
That's incredible. But you start before you did the board books, you had like your picture book came out first, am I right? Or
Yeah, so I started with the board books, and
okay.
those took off so, I mean, beyond what I thought, um, that I started creating more and more board books. But I really wanted to write just a regular, picture storybook. So that was always a dream of mine. So in the middle of all of this board book stuff, like stocking, restocking, creating new ones, I did write the 2 picture storybooks, and I have a third on the way.
Amazing. That is incredible. And where does the joke book fit in the sequence? Because I was using your jokes years ago. I've been using them in therapy for ages.
So the joke book was such a random thing. It's one of my things my husband's like, you have so many things going on. Why don't you finish one? But that's how I also work. When I get creative, it's like I need to get it out there. So I've been sharing, jokes on Instagram because I use them as a warm up in speech therapy. Jokes naturally have those literacy concepts, literary concepts, like homophones, synonyms, antonyms, the figurative language, idioms, puns that are really great for language therapy or even carry over for articulation, all the things, right? So I it's just such a fun way to connect with kids, and I had them write jokes. So I have this like collection of jokes over the years. So I decided I would really like a joke book that a therapist, parent, or teacher could use. And the reason why it's a little different is because most joke books that you buy they're just like the one-liners, all on one page. So I use pictures to make it more fun and also to help the kids get their, wheels turning about what the punchline could be. But the question and the punchline are on separate pages. So kids have a chance to guess using use the, receptive expressive language skills, trying to figure out what might be funny. And then at the bottom of each joke is that breaks down the learning element of each joke. It's called the brains behind the joke. So it's kind of it's like a learning tool, but it's also, you could just get it for the laughs because they are just silly, kid jokes.
Yeah. It's such a great one, right? It's like jokes are ubiquitous across cultures, and and then to break it down, it's brilliant. So within the project, you started with the board books. In there, you snuck in two picture books and a joke book.
Yes. Well, and that's when I really said I need to have my own publishing company
Yeah,
because I'm doing so much. My first board book, I didn't even have packing boxes to ship them. I had to
yeah,
order like these things off Amazon. Like, I was taping like printed off paper, shipping labels. I didn't have that, the nice little
yeah,
machine or with the stickers. It was just because I wanted to see if people would love it as much as I did.
yeah.
And so when it started taking off, I talked to my attorney and my accountant. I'm like, hey, I've got to get this established because it's getting a little out of control. So that's when we established Panda Speech Publishing.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah,
And how about your illustration process? Like as far as your, let's just say like on your board books, do you have
Mhm.
one illustrator that you work with, or do you do that on your end?
So I do have one illustrator who, so the it was really difficult because illustrators like with like these kind of books, they want to do full spreads. They want to create these beautiful full spread illustrations, which is typical in the publishing world. But with these, I already had the layout and design, and so I had to find an illustrator who would just send me images. So the board books, I storyboarded everything, I laid it out, and so now she's used to me and she knows each one of my books comes with a book unit, like worksheets, coloring pages, craft, comprehension. So I also need that line art. And some illustrators, they're not used to getting all of these requests from authors, like all of the extra things. So yeah, so I have one and she is phenomenal. And then my picture storybooks, I've used another illustrator. So I have two that I work with regularly, and then one I work with every once in a while.
amazing. And in terms of finding, was the process similar for finding a publisher as it was for finding an illustrator?
So since I published my own, it was very easy for me because I did it all myself. But Illustrator, I used it's called Upwork. I don't know if you're familiar. It is
Yeah.
a platform where you can find illustrators, you can find story book editors, all different kinds of freelance work. And so I actually found both of them on that website, which I was very happy. You can get samples made. So what I did for my first book, for the Sheldon Go Shopping, I had 8 different Sheldons drawn and sent to me from 8 different illustrators until I found the one that I was like, that's Sheldon. Um, so it is a long process as well because you want to make sure their style of illustration fits your vision.
Yeah.
And I'm a very picky author, so I have like each page. I have a spreadsheet. I don't know if other authors do this. I have no idea, but I have a description of exactly what I want the characters to look like, what I want the background to look like. And so my illustrators go off of that. Of course, I give them creative license because they're the professionals. But so far, I've been blown away how illustrators can bring your thoughts to life. It's so cool. It's my one of my favorite parts is getting those initial sketches of
Yeah,
the book.
yeah.
So yeah.
Sorry, I meant manufacturer was finding the manufacturer
Oh,
process
that's what I
Oh,
was going to ask too, because that's a trick, because you have a very unique kind of book. And so I
yes.
think that is when someone says finding manufacturer, I think that would probably be like to me a really overwhelming process.
Yes. So it was a lot. Like I said, I got several samples made, and like prototypes before I settled on the manufacturer. So that's key, getting prototypes made because you want to make sure that number one, understand what you are wanting, but number two, the quality is really good. So since I have a board book, I wanted to make sure it was sturdy enough for little hands to be messing with. The Velcro pieces were sturdy. There were so many different concerns, and like the flaps that they didn't just fly off if you lifted them. So it took a while. I will tell you, it took a while, and um, it is, I always say, look everywhere. Look in the United States, look at, and then look international, because you never know what company might fit with you. I will say mine, it's international. I couldn't find any companies in the States to really understand my process. And it really took me taking a video of me with my little laminated Velcro book, that I made, and showing exactly how it's supposed to look. But I think one of the biggest challenges is learning how to storyboard or lay out books in InDesign. That's what I use for my books. Because if you can do that, it makes when you connect with a manufacturer so much easier, because they usually work on either Illustrator, InDesign, some kind of Photoshop, not Photoshop, Adobe Suite. A lot of them do. They can use PDFs or, stuff like that. But if you learn InDesign, it just helps so much.
Amazing. And then they sent you, like, I imagine within the board book, there's all the different, you have to pick the different thicknesses of the pieces and the
Mhm.
thicknesses of the paper. So they give you samples and you pick from there. Was that how that process worked?
Yeah, so in our initial interview, because I did Zooms with a bunch of companies, I asked, what they recommended for the thickness, working with preschool age kids. And they, like most of these companies, mine's not the first board book they've ever made,
Yeah.
The company that does my board books, they produce board books for like famous, companies. So um it's like they already knew. They're like, this is our
Yeah.
deal. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
but they were really nice with guiding me through it. I didn't, because I'm so used, when I my print and make lift a flap books, you have to tape on the flap. I had no idea a board book, like a flap book, it's like a bunch of layers of paper. That's what a board book is. And then if you have a flap, the picture is printed on an internal layer, and then they just cut out the top layer for the flap. I was like, oh,
Oh,
that makes
okay.
sense. I was like, how are they going to attach a flap and make it sturdy? But you just learn things by
Yeah.
going through the process.
Yeah, I just learned that now.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
had no idea. So like literally when my books are printed, there's images like smushed under, and the only way to get to them is when they like, cut out the flap. I just think that's weird. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
I also think that a lot of people are intimidated by publishing board books versus like a soft cover or a hardcover book. Because I think
Right.
that's a little bit more challenging because sometimes like what kind of like advice would you give somebody who wanted to publish a board book that hasn't published a book? Because I see a lot out there on social media where people are interested in doing a board book or a lift the flap book, but they don't even know where to start. So
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean, I do recommend using a publishing company if you are not like really dedicated into getting into all of the ins and outs, learning InDesign, you know, zooming with manufacture. It is all intimidating. It's doable for sure. So, but reach out to a publishing company if you just have this beautiful idea, because a publishing company will walk you through every step of the process. A lot of times they'll even have recommendations for illustrators, or they'll hire the illustrator for you. So it just depends on how much you want to do, versus if you just have this beautiful book written and you want someone else to make it come to life. People have asked me if I'd be willing to publish other authors, and that is definitely something I am going to consider. Not right now. I'm so busy with my school contract and my own projects, but it is something I'm considering doing through my publishing company. But I will say the downside with that is I have limited marketing, where those big publishing houses have such strong marketing. That's where you're going to get a lot more exposure when you use a publishing company. I have to do my own marketing. It is up to me to get it out there, which is a lot. And I'm not good at marketing. I'm a speech therapist. I don't have
I
a marketing
actually
degree.
disagree. I think your marketing is very good. So I
Same.
was going to ask you
Thanks.
how you learned it because you seem really good to me. So
Oh my gosh, that's so nice because I feel like
no, it's true. I was like, you're really good because I think certain people just have a like are able to do it really well naturally, and I feel like you do. So
well, I'm glad it comes across that way because every time I'm like, oh, I'm so bad at this. But I will tell you, marketing, okay, because I have a couple other friends who do some publishing products, and they're like, "Well, social media, social media." I'm like, "Listen, social media is it's a thing, and it is a valuable tool, but it's not as valuable as an email list." I Social media is almost like perceived importance. I don't know even know if that makes sense
Yeah.
because the number of people who follow me is it's not small, but the number of people who actually see my post is minuscule. So it's like I put all this effort into social media, barely a quarter of the people who actually follow me see it. Whereas my email list, I have a high open rate on my email list because I've built it for so many years. People trust me. They know I'm not going to spam them. So I would say if with marketing focus on an email list, building an email list if you have a book, because that is, of course, if you're using a publisher, they're naturally going to send all that out for you, which is beautiful. And part of me, which is some days that I did have a publisher who did all that for me, because it is a lot of work. Um, but yeah, so I would say marketing, you get the biggest bang for your buck in an email list. Social media just makes people feel important. It really doesn't get out as much as you think it does.
It's such an important message and so hard to kind of wrap your mind around as a person from the outside looking in because the glossiness of social media, right? It's the
Hmm.
thing that's on the front. Um,
Right.
for the email platform, is there a one that you like Klaviyo, or I'm not sure if there's one that you recommend that you enjoy?
I've used a ton and I've spent tons of money on them in the past, like, the ones that are super expensive, but I've settled on Flowdesk. It is an affordable one. It does everything I need. I don't need complicated email funnels because I don't do that to my list. Like, I'm not trying to like hook you into a bunch of different email
Yeah.
sequences. There are times where that's important, and that's a huge marketing strategy. Again, I'm not good at. So maybe that's my downfall is that I'm not utilizing all of those fancy things in an email list, but I just don't. I have so much going on. I have, basically I have like three businesses that I'm trying to run simultaneously. So I'm like, what if I can get an email out, I'm doing
Yeah,
good.
that's huge. That's huge.
But yeah,
I
Flowdesk
have
is
oh no,
yeah.
I just have a question about the email. Like, what do you have like a certain template that you normally follow and you just like kind of fill in like more up-to-date stuff, or is there a suggestion that you give other people who may be starting an email list?
Yeah, so I just sent out because my newest board book launched today, which is kind of fun that I'm
Oh,
doing a book
congratulations.
podcast. Thank you. Thank you. It's so adorable. It's so, I just love it. Of course, I say that about every single one. But so my emails are simple. So if you're on my email list, you'll see it today. It's like, usually just the text, maybe one picture, and then I have like, like maybe some like if I have a discount code for a company that I'm working with, I might put it at the bottom, but it's like very simple. And I do duplicate and then I change it. Like I am like it is not a complicated process for me. And I don't really like getting emails that are super long with a bunch of pictures or videos because first of all, it may not load. I might be on my phone. It's going to look weird. So I try to keep it simple, which I think most people appreciate. Now, Flowdesk has those templates built in, but there's some of them are so busy. I feel like people are not going to want to deal with all that busyness. So mine's usually text, picture, link. We're good to go.
I love that. And it also makes it so doable. Like it's just so unintimidating for somebody who's just starting
Right.
to see like it doesn't have to be perfect as the enemy of done. It just has to be done
Yeah.
and not overly complicated. I love that. And you're right. I'm personally much more likely um to open an email that's not going to require a ton of work on my part of
Right.
reading
Yes.
down and sifting through and it just gives me what need to know and I can go on. Um,
Right.
so congratulations on launching the new book. We want to see it if it's just brand new.
Yeah, can you
Yes.
show it
So
to us?
I can. It's called Remy's Ride to the Zoo. So
Amazing.
this little girl is wants to go to the zoo because her favorite animal is a parrot. So the unique thing about this one, I don't know if y'all have seen my other board books, but the flaps, she's so excited. So she keeps looking out the car window to see if they're there yet. So the flap is actually the car window. And so when
Beautiful.
you know how kids are always saying, "Are we there yet?" So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
open the window and is this the zoo? No, it's the park. So you're learning about the community places. So there's a school, a park, a grocery store, a library, a gas station, a hospital, a fire station. So it's all about community places. And then on the next page, it tells you about the place. Sorry, my light is kind of making it.
No, no, it's
So
perfect.
it's really adorable. And of course, at the end, she does get to make it to the zoo, and she's super excited about the zoo. So yeah, and another thing that's different about this book is my sentence strip. So a lot of my books, they're looking for something in the book. So it's I found a or I see a. So this one's really good for where questions because it asks where is she? She's at the. So it's a different sentence strip. So I'm excited about that because people have been begging for different sentence strips because if you're using my board books a lot, the I found is getting a little bit old. And my snowman book I launched in December had a different sentence strip as well. So
So
yeah,
Amazing.
so I'm super excited.
yeah, I just want to say, like, in your writing process, I mean, how often are you creating new books? Like every few months, or does it vary?
So since I've only been in business really with the board books for 2 years, I have eight. So it's been like four a
Wow.
year.
It's
So eight
incredible.
books, and I'm constantly restocking. I've had to restock my original books 3 times. And another crazy thing, if you're doing publishing, that's 1,000 books getting dropped off at your doorstep or your office at a time. So a lot of manufacturers, they have a minimum order quantity. So I have to order 1,000 of these books at a time. So when they get dropped off, I'm always like recruiting like all my teenage sons to like haul them out to the book warehouse. It's really just a finished shed, but I call it my mini book warehouse because it's adorable. But
Oh, I like that. I like that.
it was our game room, like, and it was a music studio for my sons. I mean, I have two sons in college and one graduating, so they're not interested in doing anything. So I took it over. It is no longer their game room hangout space. It is a total book warehouse. I mean, it is. If you follow along on my Instagram, I always post pictures when I'm working in there because my dogs have a bed in there. I'll have boxes stacked up to the ceiling, so it's my little happy place. I've got a really cute rug for it because it's a finish. It has heating and air. It's really cute. It has an adorable little window, and I like hang little flower baskets. But I got this really cute rug now, so I'm feeling like more homey in there. And I have a giant big screen TV so I can watch my shows while I pack orders.
Perfect.
It's a
That's
fun process. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, but I also think I think that's an important part of creating,
Yeah.
is having the space
Right.
to create. I think, I don't know, to me at least, like it's not something you could just always create in different places. I think creating that space, like I think anyone who wants to, get into, publishing books, I think having a dedicated space where you're working on it. Like I know when we redid our house, I have like a whole work table, like with my
Mm,
laminator, my binding machine, and all my,
yes.
and having that because that was really important to have like my little station. Um,
Right.
so it's what you were talking about with your book warehouse, having the space, having the TV, having all that stuff set up, because I'm wondering it probably gives you a lot of, space to think of new ideas, because I'm sure you're thinking of new
Sure.
ideas like every day.
Well, the cool thing is, I have 40 titles of Lift a Flat books already published in the print and make version. So you can get them on my website on TPT 40. So I already have a plethora of books already written. Now, do I always produce all those same titles? No. But like Sheldon Go Shopping, was my first print and make book I ever made, and it's my first board book I made. I do change the illustrations because I use clip art, and most clip artists on TPT do not allow mass production licensing. And so that's another thing, I always tell people if you're looking into publishing anything, make sure you have the correct license. Even with your illustrators, you need to know what kind of contract. Is this a one-time fee or are you going to be paying them royalties for their work? There's all kinds of things that go into that. But so yeah, I have like a really cute ocean animal theme that's a print and make that people are begging me to put into a board book for like summer therapy. So I mean, I have a couple projects that I'm going to do, but it just, again, the process is long. Once I give the project to my illustrator, it may take them 2 to 3 months to get me the finished illustrations. And then just timeline for manufacturer to print 1,000 books. They have giant board book machines. They're huge. I've seen a walkthrough on video with my manufacturer. They're huge. They're crazy, but it takes about like 30 days to get all 1,000 printed, and then to get, because they have the little Velcro pieces, to get those assembled, and then to get the packaging all done, a good 30 days, and then it takes another 30 days to get them shipped, freighted here. So it's a long process from start to beginning. It's probably a 6 month process for any given book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Is
your
that what?
worksheets, do you print out that on your own, or do you have the manufacturer also print out the additional products as well?
So there's a link on the back of the book, and then I don't print them. So the
Oh,
customer, prints them as on demand. And like my storybooks on the back page, there's a link, because even my regular picture books have a whole book unit to use. So like I just have supplemental worksheets, go to this link to get it.
so that's really
But
smart, I think.
if you buy them on my website, it'll automatically send you the link. If you buy them on Amazon, it doesn't work that way, because I have some of my board books on Amazon, but all of my picture books and the joke book. But if you buy them from my website, it's like I programmed it to automatically send you the link while you're waiting for your book to arrive.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. Yeah. Yeah. Then what does your clinical life look like? It is hard to imagine with all of this going on with publishing.
Yeah.
You're also running a clinical company.
So it's right now, I'm mostly supervising SLPAs, and I'm doing case management. So I write about 227 IUPs this year. But that's all I'm doing. So I'm not doing the therapy. So it sounds like a lot, but I do most of my case management, like my IEP meetings virtually. So right from here, I do go to the school. So I have an SLPA, and so I do go to the school for her and to do the speech only IEPs in person, because I feel like that's important when I can. Um, I just finished a maternity leave where I had to do 2 full days of therapy a week, which I hadn't really done. I do maternity leave coverages here and there, but as far as therapy, uh, not regularly. Since 2021, it's more supervising, but I just finished at an elementary school, and it was so much fun, but I forgot how the back-to-back therapy all day long felt. But it was really great. And I was able to use my books, of course. And, it was really fun to see like the feedback from the kids. Because, my husband thinks I'm cringe, but I'm like, has anybody read the book One Weird Wednesday by Amanda Schamberg? They're like, oh no. I'm like, have y'all ever heard of that author? And then they see my picture, and they're like, and I'm like, I told him I did that. And he's like, you are so cringe. I'm like, it's fine. The kids think it's so cool. Oh, and so the kids wanted to check out my book from the library after we read it. So I donated several copies to the library so they could check it out. And, it's just fun to connect with the kids, get their feedback. I had them tell me their honest opinion. And I had one kid say, I didn't like it. There wasn't one good thing about it. I was like, you know what? That's okay. It's not for everybody. I might not post that review online though, but kids are cute.
There's always the one with the one star.
Always the one.
Everybody else, as long as he's the outlier, it's telling you. You need to know.
Yes, yes. And and the kids get like, I love making the units to go with it, because kids get so creative. Like on the One Weird Wednesday, this was just up. I'm gonna cover up the name, but they got to write their own One Weird Wednesday book. So all of the wacky things that they could think of. And so this kid just drew the cutest one. I just did this last week, so it's right on my desk. And so just watching that creative process and then the book and connect it to themselves is just, it's fun. It's why literacy therapy is so great in speech therapy.
It's also such a great role model for the kids, that they know an author, and if any of them dream of ever becoming an author, it might be your therapy session that sparked
Maybe.
future author down the road.
Right.
So do you follow the same format as far as like creating those additional resources for your books? Like as far as for each board book, like what's that process? Because I think that's a really wonderful resource for people to be able to have those. And I think also like working in schools to have
Hmm.
everything right there available to be able to
Right.
use is very, very helpful because I know a lot of, as speech pathologists, we don't have a ton of time to prepare.
Right. Yes.
So to have all that stuff just all ready to go is, very helpful.
So I kind of follow a similar format for each of my board books. So there's always a picture supported comprehension page because we are working with preschool kids, but we do want to start working on comprehension tasks even with those young kids. So each one, like it'll say, what was he looking for? A grasshopper, a ladybug, but it'll have the pictures. And I use the illustrations from the book. That's why I asked the illustrator to send me that line art. And then I also have a cut and paste craft. So for like Jacob's bug collection, he's collecting the bugs in the jar. Well, the craft would be the jar with the bugs to glue, cut and paste. It also comes with like a full color manipulative, so a full color jar, full color jugs to use, jugs, full color bugs to put in the jar if you want to print and laminate those. And it comes with other supplemental things for like the bug book. It comes with a bug book fact, a print and make book about each of the bugs, their habitat, what they eat, just all those supplemental things. So I have kind of like a template that I do that I want to make sure each book comes with those things. And it's geared towards, the preschool age student. Now, my picture storybooks, it comes with vocabulary like context clues for the vocabulary words that may be new. It comes with like sequencing story activities, all kinds of stuff. But generally, I've tried to, you know, hit those comprehension, sequencing, story elements, those type of things with the books. And then I forgot to mention my board books. I found a felt manufacturer because I had these felt toys that were food, and I was like, how cool it would be if each of my books came with a felt toy companion. And so I found a felt company to make using my illustrations, make felt toy companions. So Sheldon Go Shopping, I have a felt shopping cart with felt food that you put in the shopping cart. So I sell
Brilliant.
those now. So that's a whole other thing. Now I'm manufacturing felt toys. It's crazy, but um, it makes it just so much more interactive. And I make the printable manipulatives that you can print in color, Velcro, but just having that soft felt is so nice, and the kids like it as well. So yeah, so each one of my books comes with that. The Remy, this book, the felt set is going to be a map, and you're going to have
Oh,
each
wow.
place she goes to. You can already print the full color map and use a toy car to drive along with the story. But I want a felt like where you can fold it out and use a toy car as you're going through the story. You can drive to the hospital, the school, just like her. So
That's
yeah, that's kind of in
brilliant.
the works.
Brilliant. I love that. Love it. So
I
if
love
you,
the interactive piece. I think
yeah,
that's what's so fun because a lot of times when you're reading a book, it could be really passive. But because it's so interactive, the kids really get involved in reading the book, which brings up,
Right.
I think, a lot of like speech and language opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, and I always tell like my big thing with kids when I'm reading a book, even if it's a regular book, I stop and I'm like, let's make a prediction. I'm like, let's make what do you think is going to happen, or why do you think this is, what do you think the character's going to say? So anything I'm doing, like I get I don't know. My personality, I have over 900 TPT products because I get bored doing the same therapy activity. So I just creating
No,
new and fun
me
things.
too,
It's,
actually. Me too. That's what I
it's,
do. I always
yeah.
make stuff because I get bored of using the same stuff. Yeah.
Like I'm sick of, yeah, the same activity. So with books, like I make it, of course, you're doing the voices, you're stopping, we're making predictions, and but with the interactive piece, yeah, like they get to, make the sentence strip. They're lifting the flaps, saying yes or no. Um, there's just so much going on. And then when you use the felt sets or the manipulatives that come with it for free, it just adds another piece. Like I have a read and color page. So for littler ones who can't do the cut and paste, or maybe the attention span's not there for that. It's just a page that says read in color, and you color the item as you find them in the book, or dot them with a bingo dotter. There's so many different options depending on each kid. So
Amazing.
And just I also want to comment that your books are also like very affordable.
Oh, I'm
That's
glad.
also what I want to say because I think, sometimes with board books, they could be
Yeah.
very expensive to publish. And I think the Velcro
Oh,
also is
yeah.
expensive. And what I found when I went to your website is that you just it's very affordable for people, which I think makes it really much more accessible. Because when something's so expensive, we just can't purchase those things, right?
Right.
So I just also wanted to comment on that. And like, I mean, it's pretty amazing how you kept it so affordable for people.
Yeah, and that was again doing my, research with each of these companies, I would get quotes. And then I also had to, you have to think about how much does it co- I when I ship the books, they come in a bubble wrap sleeve because I want them to arrive beautiful and undamaged. So I also have boxes of bubble wrap sleeves, fit for my books. And then the packaging, all of those things you have to consider with cost. So I did research on, the shipping boxes, the sleeves with the bubble wrap. And so all of that goes in when you're fully publishing and manufacturing your own product, all of that has to be taken into account. And then that's how you end up pricing it. And so I was able to find really good deals on all of those things and was able to price my book. But I always tell people, especially when they come to me at conventions, you're not just getting the book, you're getting all of the supplemental materials, you're getting the manipulatives to print and make. There's so much more that comes with the book. And I forgot to mention, I also have an what's it called? Electronic, I'm like electronic versions of each books on boom cards. I don't know if y'all are, so
Uh,
you can
yeah.
buy this and instead of the flap, you slide it over with your finger if you're on an iPad or use your mouse, and then you slide the to make the sentence strip. It's really fun. So, and you all of these things, like if you wanted the digital version, you can get it as an add-on for a discount, So I try to keep the price point really affordable because I know what my budgets were, which is usually very little. So I'm buying it myself when I was working in the schools. But also for parents, because I have tons of parents who buy these books with their littles. And so I want it to be affordable no matter if you're using a school budget or if it's your own budget for your own kids.
And I'm just saying, so you make the boom cards on your own, or you have,
Mhm.
like, so how do you, just as a, how do you balance everything? Because you're doing, like, I'm just like, do you have more days in the week than other people? No. Well, but
Yeah,
like,
Got a clone.
but it's a lot because I mean, I know what it takes to, I have a teachers pay teacher store and I
right.
make stuff and I also have looked into creating boom cards and I make videos. Like it's a lot. Like, I mean, plus you're also working and you're a mom and it's, how do you balance everything like as far as, doing all of those different components?
So, I have to task myself out because I am so like, I'm just so, my brain is all over the place all the time. If I don't task myself out, nothing will get done because there are too many things. It's like I have so much going on with my personal life, with my kids. I take a lot of, me and my husband travel a lot. So everything has to be in my Google Calendar. People ask, oh, do you use it as scheduling? I'm like, no, Google Calendar is free and it's connected to my business account and I can color code it. I don't like paying for stuff I don't need. I don't use any fancy, like, like task systems. I've tried them all. I don't use them. It's Google. Pops up on my watch to tell me, hey, it's time to follow up with that the shipping box people. I just task it out. Like I have call the hotel, like today later it says call hotel concierge to try to get tickets connected to your account. Like on my vacation I'm coming up. Like I task out everything. And if it's not on my calendar, it probably won't happen. And I know a lot of people are like that, but that's how I do it. I task everything out. My kids are also growing up and I thrived on being a little kid mom. Like it was like I just am really good at that. And I've struggled with them growing up. So I think it's been like a coping mechanism for me to handle this part of life by just being super busy. And I love it. I never feel like I'm working. Like my husband will be watching, baseball because, the San Francisco Giants are or that's his team. He was born and raised there. And I just am creating stuff or working on like stuff. And he's like, "Aren't you sick of working?" I'm like, "I'm not working. This is what I love. It's fun. It's not work for me." And I don't like sports. So we can be together and you could be watching sports and I can be creating a beautiful little children's book. It's a win-win. Mine
Yeah, yeah, it's
is
fun.
more profitable for our family, my hobby, but that's okay.
If you
Yeah.
have a starting speech pathologist or speech pathologist really wanting to get into publishing and they're looking down two roads of going digital versus physical, which
Mhm.
that you're like successful on the other side of both of those worlds, which way would you direct them or what would be the pros and cons of each road?
So are you talking about like a digital as in like a more TPT, like
TPT,
print and
yeah,
make?
yeah, TPT versus traditional versus
I would say if you already if your passion is writing this book and getting it out there, I would say try to get it published because TPT is great, but um, it is there's so many resources on there. So it's going to be really hard to get yours to stand out on TPT, to be honest. There's so many people on TPT now, which is great. I mean, there's so many options. But so I would say that there are two ways of self-publishing a book that does not take all of the things I talked about, and that's through Amazon KDP and Barnes and Noble Press. These are print on demand services through Amazon and Barnes and Noble that you don't necessarily have to have a publisher, a publishing company, or anything to do if you want to just try it. I know people who have created books for their like grandparents who published it just so they had and then they got it printed and then that was all. So you can do that. You can play around with it. You can get samples made. So I would say that would be my first route, but that will require you designing the book and getting the illustrations all storyboarded out because you do
yeah,
have to put a finished file into that, which is kind of the learning curve. But I will say Amazon KDP has those templates you can download to make sure you get your dimensions right. So I would say that if you've gotten to the point where you are ready to find an illustrator and all that kind of thing. And I would use Upwork to find yourself an illustrator. Most illustrators will storyboard it out for you in design on and when you're searching, I would search for an illustrator who does that for you if you're not familiar with InDesign. So I would say that would be the first route to go. The problem is that how do I get it out to the masses, right?
yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. And that's really true on both, whichever path you choose, whether you go digital
Right.
or physical, it's the marketing is so complicated.
It is. It really is. And that's why I say build an email list.
Yeah.
And it's ways to do that is to get connected with other, authors, you know, go to conventions, there's like, or, children's book fairs, not book fairs like at schools, but like,
Yeah.
they have those like, festivals
Convention.
or whatever. Or if you're a speech therapist, I exhibit at Ash and Tisha every year and bring my books. There's ways you can start building those things. So I give away a book or a gift card, and they give me their emails. So I start slowly building my list every event. And if I do 2 to 3 a year, it builds quicker than you think. And then if you do collaborations, like we all did a collaboration recently. I don't know, it's been a while, the authors SLP author
Yeah.
group that did a collaboration. So
Yeah,
that's
we did
another,
that. Yeah, yeah, it was a giveaway.
yeah. And so that was a really cool thing. So as a way to connect and get, other people looking at your book as well, and while supporting other authors. So, there's all kinds of stuff like that going on. Join a Facebook group for SLP authors, which,
Yeah.
you guys are the administrators, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. That is, y'all have created a really cool place to connect. And honestly, I think just being a part of that group, I know I'm like not in the beginning stages, but a lot of people are when they post their first book, everyone is so supportive and like cheers them on. And I think that's something that's really valuable when you're first starting out, getting that support.
Yeah. No, it was why we started it to just to help people build community in this community. While we're on the topic of marketing, can you tell us all your handles and where people can buy your amazing books?
Yeah, so Panda Speech, it's just at Panda Speech, all one word. If you Google Panda Speech, it'll bring me up everywhere. But on Instagram, Facebook, I don't do the other one, I don't do TikTok, but I'm on Instagram and all that. Uh, and then I have a website. It's just pandaspeech.com, but my commerce site where you can buy the books is shoppandaspeech.com. But you'll get there no matter where you click. There's links going to all the different places.
Amazing. Amanda, thank you so much for being with us today. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. Such an inspiration. Love your work.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
you
Thank
so
y'all for
much.
having me. Well, it's fun to get to talk to you guys because I see you guys posting in the groups and we've been in those collaborations together, but it's fun to, kind of be face to face. I mean, not in person, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Likewise. No, definitely. Definitely. Thank you. I'm sure we'll have you on again with the next with the next ones. Amanda was amazing to meet. Um, I I just floored by the amount she has accomplished, how creative she is, and how many products she has brought to life. It's really, really inspiring and really awesome to hear her story, the trajectory of how each one evolved. So I loved hearing the almost like superhero birth story of each one. Like her joke book had a totally different evolution than the picture books, and they had a totally different evolution than the board books. Um, and it was really interesting to hear. She's so creative, kind of how each of those, how the idea was sparked and then how they evolved and came to fruition.
Exactly. And I thought what was really cool about her story too is that she started with a teacher's pay teacher store, which I think is, like I have a teacher's pay teacher store, and I think it's just a wonderful way to, I mean, it's not even, she started with it and she still has a teacher's pay teacher store, but she also, but then she went on to, publish the books in hard copy. But for other people to know about at their teachers pay teachers is another wonderful way to kind of be creative and get your resources out.
Yeah.
But I think that's really what helped her kind of see like how popular her books were,
Yeah.
and give her the motivation to get, to publish it. But I think what was really interesting about her story was that the for her to actually find like a manufacturer of the books,
Yeah.
that she didn't do print on demand, that she went and she had to do a lot of different pieces, and her board books are very different than any other board books because they have the Velcro and the little pieces. So I think the way that she went about it was really interesting and helpful for other people to learn that if you want something done, then you just make sure you do your research. And she really spent a lot of research. She talks a lot about not only getting the book manufactured, but also just the shipping and the cost and thinking about all that because, it's not just the cost of the book.
Illustrator.
Yeah. So,
And her insight into marketing is also very good. I think she had some great suggestions for marketing that are not intuitive, is particularly, within our field where we don't get any training in this area. She's really a wonderful source of knowledge and from great experience. She was a lot of fun to talk to.
yeah, like the email lists are definitely something that she talked about a lot. And I think that's another thing for some people it works, other people maybe not, but I think for her it's a really powerful thing.
Well, I
And
loved that she walked through how to make that email list doable for your everyday person, and it's really, really great insight. My dad, who's in business for a long time, an entrepreneur, and mentors me. When I told him about that episode, he's like, "You see, I've always been telling you about the magic of an email list." But the way Amanda described it made it very doable. So I think people really get a lot out of that episode. This is SLP by day,
Author by night,
with Tali Kellerstein and
Becca Eisenberg
bringing the SLP writing community
together.